Hi everyone, I'm Susan Mulvihill. Welcome back to my garden. Boy, I was looking at the forecast and we have some very cold weather coming our way and it seems awfully soon. We are going to have lows in the teens and 20s. We have snow in the forecast for this weekend and I feel like I'm not ready. So I've got all sorts of things that I need to take care of today before the temperatures really start dropping. So come on along with me and you get to help me out. The first thing I want to do is bring in any containers or garden ornaments, such as this terracotta sun, that won't be able to tolerate freezing and thawing through the winter months or the really cold temperatures. Ceramic pots like these will not tolerate the freezing and thawing, but the ironic thing is that what's in it is a hardy succulent, so it would make it through the winter outside, but I need to bring this pot indoors. This terracotta pot needs to be brought indoors as well, and so do garden ornaments that I have here and there. If you have plants that you need to bring inside, sometimes it's hard to know where to put them and you worry about maybe the floor getting wet or whatever surface you put them on getting wet or damaged. Well, I wanted to show you this boot tray. This is from Target and it cost about $4 and they also make a larger size. These are watertight, they're sturdy, and I really like them. They're very handy. So I'm going to put this one on the inside of our south-facing sliding glass door, and that's where I'm going to put those 2 pots of succulents. They should be very happy there, and my floor will be safe. This also fits into our grow light setup, and it's a great way to set pots and monitor them, and you don't have to worry about whatever the surface is that the pots are sitting on getting wet. You might recall that in a previous video I showed you how I'm growing my herbs in this elevated planter from Gardener's Supply. I have really enjoyed it and the plants have just gone nuts. Now every herb in here but one is hardy and will make it through the winter. The one that won't is rosemary. It just gets too cold here. Fortunately, I can easily take cuttings from the plants to have a new one for me for next year and to share some with friends. Wait till you see how easy this is. I've got a glass of water. I'm just going to set that aside. And I've got some little pruning snips here. And all you do is take a cutting off the plant. You can see how long it is. And what I'm doing is I'm going to strip off the lower leaves from the stem. You can see this is really hard so far. And then I'm going to put it in the water. And I'm going to do another one. I mean, is this easy or what? And actually, I'm going to make that one a little shorter. I might as well do this since this plant is not going to make it through the winter. Okay, I've got my glass of cuttings. I'm going to put this in our kitchen windowsill. That window faces south, so it'll get plenty of light. I'll top up the water every now and then if I need to. And within about 2 weeks at the most, there will be roots coming out. I'm going to let them grow for a while, and then I will pot them up into individual pots. And they'll be lovely plants for next spring. The next thing I need to do is to pick some lettuce. And I wanted to show you my cool setup. So this cover is part of one of the DIY projects in my brand new book, The Vegetable Garden Pest Handbook. The project is for making a raised bed and a cover that will keep out insect pests. This also keeps birds away from the lettuce because boy do they like to nibble on it. And also it's giving the plants a few degrees of frost protection this fall, which is great. So anyway, I just love this, and we sort of retrofit it, you can see, just temporarily to this bed but there is a brand new raised bed that this goes with, and we just didn't have a place in the garden yet for it. So we just moved this cover onto this raised bed, and my lettuce plants are benefiting from it. In the bed, I'm growing lettuce and sorrel, actually. This is a red romaine that does really well in the somewhat cold weather, not super cold, but they just keep producing for me, which is awesome. I love the idea of being able to grow things like lettuce for as long as possible, because salad greens are something we all miss during the winter months, don't we? And I'm using what's called the cut and come again method. And instead of harvesting a whole plant, which means it would stop producing, obviously, I'm just harvesting individual leaves so that the plant will continue to grow new leaves, at least until it gets way too cold. This is the sorrel, by the way. And this time of year I find that their stems tend to be a little bit tough. And so I'm really just harvesting the leaf part from the plants. But there's plenty of lovely greens here to enjoy for dinner. Now I know in last week's video I said that this week's video was going to be us harvesting our root crops, carrots, rutabagas, parsnips, potatoes, these leeks, but they haven't had a hard frost yet, which they'll definitely be getting in the next few days. So I'm not harvesting them yet, and probably next week is when we'll dig everything up, and I'll show you how we store them in bins during the winter months, because it works really well. This is my celery patch, and I know I've mentioned in previous videos that it is cold tolerant to a certain extent. Now, because we're going to get down into the teens in the next few days, I decided I need to harvest them now, because I do not trust that weather. That just sounds too cold too soon. So I'm going to harvest the stalks of celery today. I'll chop them up, put them into freezer bags, and freeze them so I can easily add them to soups and stews during the winter months. The next thing I want to do is plant these little grape hyacinths. Aren't those the coolest looking things? That's Helena, which I had never seen before. I like the white on the top. So I do want to plant them. Now I have 2 other bulb orders, and they have not come yet, which is making me very nervous. I'm trying to check on them. I'm hoping they'll make it before our ground freezes solid. But at the rate the forecast is going, it's making me very dubious that it's going to be in time. But at least I can get these ones in the ground. Now Bill and I recently put this metal edging along the edge of our front planter bed, and it's got kind of a bare spot here, and I was thinking, wouldn't it be nice to put the grape hyacinths here? The thing with grape hyacinths is that they are only 6 inches tall, so you want them in the front of a bed. And the other thing I wanted to point out is that according to the instructions, they need to be planted 4 inches deep. Well, I'm going to use this dibble, it's also referred to as a dibbler, to make the holes and just drop the bulbs in. And when you're planting bulbs, don't just plant them in this tidy little line, because that doesn't look so natural. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of make some little clusters here and there, and try not to be putting them in a line, because that might look kind of dorky. We don't want that. Well, no matter how I do it, it's looking very organized, isn't it? But I do want to keep it near the front of the beds. I tried to just fling the bulbs, and that didn't work very well because they all wanted to go farther into the bed, and I don't want them back. I want them near the front. So we'll just do this and see how it goes. And they can be planted pretty closely together. As you know, grape hyacinths grow quite exuberantly, but I thought, you know, this is a spot that never has anything growing, so why don't I choose grape hyacinths for it? And that should look pretty good. I'm kind of rearranging the holes as I go. And of course, with bulbs, the pointy end goes up, and you can see the root system was there on these originally, and that's what goes down. Okay, so now I just need to cover them up, and then we'll enjoy seeing them in the early spring. And I'm going to hope my bulb order arrives soon because yikes. I'm also going to put a stake here so I remember that they're planted right in here. I don't have any plans to plant something right here, but it probably is a good idea to at least mark it so I remember. While I'm out front, I have another project to take care of. I don't know if I ever told you this, but last winter the pocket gophers and the meadow voles absolutely decimated this flower bed. The gophers will chew from underground up, chew the roots on the plants, and the meadow voles tend to chew right at the soil surface, and they'll just shear the plant off of its roots. Well, that's what they did, and I lost a lot of plants. This bed was a disaster, and I probably didn't show it to you because I was angry and embarrassed. But I do have something I'm trying, actually two things, to keep them away this fall from this bed. One is in the spring, I planted a bunch of onion sets in here. That's those little bulbs you find at garden centers. And I don't care if the onions turn to mush during the winter, they probably will, but I thought if that repels them by their scent, that would be great. The other thing is I'm going to sprinkle some of this Mole Max on the bed. Now there are other brands, there's also Mole Chaser and a few other names I can't think of right now. But these are granules that have been coated with castor oil. And pocket gophers and meadow voles do not like that smell or taste. So I'm going to sprinkle it over the surface of the soil, not real closely together, but enough to move it around in different areas and hopefully keep those horrible rodents away. One thing I like to do this time of year is to remove the screens from a few windows, especially upstairs. Right now I'm in my office. And I do that because you know how much I love to take photos of birds. And if you have the screen in the way, it just doesn't work. And it's not good to take a picture through glass because that distorts the image. So I'm going around the house and just removing a few screens here and there so that I can easily sneak up and take pictures of birds. So the last thing I need to do for now is to batten down the hatches because that storm is coming. So I'm putting the screen away and bringing out the glass. I'll see you next week.